Alright, so we are going to get started on the Enchiladas Suizas recipe tonight. We've got our main ingredients that we're going to roast for the salsa verde. And to start, we'll have about a pound of tomatillos. You'll roast them without the husks. So you'll just remove the husks like so. And then just put them in there whole to roast. We'll also peel and quarter this onion. We've got a few cloves of garlic. And then we also have our spice. So we are using 3 poblano peppers and then a serrano pepper as well. You can choose to either de-seed these before you roast or after you roast. It doesn't really matter. I've done it both ways. Personally, I like to get the seeds out before I roast it just because that's easier for me, not having to touch something hot. So that's what I'll do, and then we'll roast this in the oven for about 20 minutes at about 450 degrees, and then we'll make our salsa verde. If you want it less spicy, just use less peppers.
If you leave the seeds in, will it be spicier?
Like if you make it to sauce, or if you roast it with the seeds in?
Like if you just never de-seed them.
Oh, if you never de-seed them. We've not tried it to that spicy, but...
Okay. I mean, it's usually like medium spicy.
Yeah, it's usually medium spicy with 3 poblanos and a serrano. So if you want it spicier, you could try leaving the seeds in, or you could just add more de-seeded peppers. All right, now that we have everything husked and cleaned and cut, we're gonna put this in the oven for 20 minutes to let it roast, and then we'll pull it out and make our verde sauce. All right, so we've just roasted the vegetables for about 20 minutes, and now we're going to put them into our blender. If you have a food processor, that probably would work a little bit better. We just don't have a food processor right now that's working. So we have the blender that we're going to put all of our roasted vegetables in. And then once we put our roasted vegetables in here, then we're also going to start adding our other ingredients as well for the salsa verde. So, and I did de-seed these before they went into the oven, so I get to skip that stuff now, which I find makes it a lot easier to just get to work whenever. So the recipe doesn't say that you're supposed to blend it at this point in the process, but I am, just because I need the ingredients to come down a little bit more. So I just did it for a second. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of cumin and 1 teaspoon of salt to the blender. You can see the steam coming out of it because it's fresh from the oven. And then I'm also going to add half a cup of cilantro, which Jeff was kind enough to cut up for me. It was implied. And then we also have some spinach, and you're supposed to put 1 cup of spinach in that's like been packed. So this is already washed already. For this spinach, I chose the baby spinach. It doesn't have to be baby spinach. I just prefer that personally. So just want to pack it in there. Make sure you get a full packed cup into your measuring cup. And this is going to together make the salsa verde. So that cilantro is just going to make this very fresh, and of course the spinach is what's going to make it green.
It's already green.
It's already green, but greener. You're going to use some nice vegetables in there, which is always good in any kind of heavy cheese dish. Gotta have some vegetables, so we will if you see like the blender is not the best as opposed to using a food processor for this. And that's just because the stuff gets stuck at the top. We wanted this to be a little bit chunky, just a little bit better for the enchiladas if the sauce stays a little bit chunky, but sometimes with the blender it doesn't necessarily do that just because you have to blend it for a little bit longer than you would a food processor, and there's, you know, only so many seconds. But that should be, yeah, that looks pretty good. So what you're looking for is a consistency that's still a little bit chunky, but overall,
I don't know if we'll be able to see. Let's bring the camera in.
But overall, it is definitely a salsa. So you can stop here and you can freeze your salsa, you can refrigerate your salsa. This is just giving you that verde sauce. When we start to make the Suizas, we make it creamy. So people have different variations of this. Some people like to just leave it as a verde and then add the cream and stuff on top. I personally like to add a little bit of the sour cream now so that all of the sauce gets creamy. So I'm gonna add a little bit of sour cream here, and then I'll add the rest at the end for the topping, because the topping is really where you want it to be like ultra creamy, but I am just a lover of sour cream and making that sauce as creamy as possible. You can do, we talked about this, you can do the Mexican sour cream. It gives it a little bit of a different flavor profile, but
This
this
not
is,
the same. We've never tried it, but honestly, it seems like it would be good.
seems like it would probably be really good. But
So how much sour cream did you just put in?
I just put like 2 spoonfuls in.
Okay.
It doesn't really, there's no set rule with it. Do what feels right. I'm just looking to get a little bit of that creaminess, and then when we do the topping, so see, it just changed a little bit lighter in color. So that's really all the difference, is that adding that creaminess will change the color a little bit, but now it looks slightly more like guacamole in color. But it smells great. You can really smell that cilantro and the freshness.
Yeah.
It smells really good. All right, we'll stop the video here. Next up, so we've already shredded some Oaxaca cheese, which we're supposed to use a pound of this in the recipe, but it only comes in 10 ounces. So we bought 2. We already shredded 1, and we'll just use the extra cheese because we love cheese. We also are gonna do shredded chicken in the enchiladas. I personally think it's just as easy to get a rotisserie chicken and to shred that, but our Lara family chef in my household, Jeffrey, has made his own shredded chicken to put in the enchiladas, so that's what we'll use tonight. But we've used the rotisserie chicken before. We've used leftover shredded chicken, so you can really use whatever's on hand to make your enchiladas, but we'll be back. All right, so now that we have our salsa verde sauce prepared, we have our shredded chicken. What we're gonna do, and we also have some shredded cheese, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour maybe about 1/3 of the salsa verde into the chicken dish, along with about half of our shredded cheese. So since I've only shredded half of the cheese that we have, I'll probably put 2/3 in here. But basically, we're just trying to get a good coating of the chicken. Yeah, that's about 1/3, close to 1/2. And we'll just toss the chicken until it's thoroughly coated with the salsa verde mixture. This will just make sure that our filling of our enchiladas is going to be nice and moist, not going to have any dryness with chicken enchiladas, which no one likes. You want everything to be delicious and fresh tasting, and you certainly don't want to be skimp on the filling either. So I don't know how many pounds of chicken that Jeff shredded here, but usually you want to have like...
It's probably about 2. So the pack of chicken that we got was 3.1, 3.2 pounds, something like that.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, like you're making enchiladas, right? So if you run out of chicken, you run out of enchiladas. It just depends on how much you're trying to make. Sometimes we will make like 1 pan of enchiladas and we'll have leftover filling and we'll freeze it until we're ready to make enchiladas again. And then we have filling and, you know, that's also a method. So we'll see how many enchiladas that we get out of this batch here. But basically, I mean, use your judgment. If you think that there's too much chicken, then maybe save some of it.
How much cheese do you put in there?
So this in this container is 10 ounces. The recipe calls for a pound, so that's like 1.5 packages. I'm just putting in about half of it right now. So this is basically just your filling for your enchilada, right? So how cheesy do you want your...
It looks like you're putting more than half.
We have another package right here.
Okay, just telling you.
So how cheesy do you want the filling to be? How cheesy do you want the top of your enchiladas to be? This is really a personal preference. For me, I like things...
Is it easier to just mix
extra
that all
cheesy.
in with your hands?
It might be easier, but it's definitely messier too, so. It's not hard to mix it in with a spoon. I'm just holding 2 forks and a spoon, so.
You're not doing anything with forks.
I'm holding them.
For support.
Yeah. You like the recipe, you just like to criticize the chef making it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. So this is our filling for our enchiladas. As you can see, we have a ton of it. So we will be making a ton of enchiladas. But basically the salsa is thoroughly coated the chicken. You've got cheese in there. This is going to be a delicious dinner. Next up, we'll be rolling the enchiladas. So basically for that, we use corn tortillas. If you want to use flour, by all means, go for it. But the goal here is to make sure, first and foremost, before you even start rolling, that your pan has some salsa on it already. So I'll just use the same. Yeah, I'll just use the same and I'll put a layer down. All right, so we're gonna put some salsa verde on the bottom of our pan to make sure that our tortillas don't burn. I just put a few dollops down. You don't need a ton on here. It's really just to provide a layer of protection for your tortillas. Think of it as an oven mitt, you know? You don't want your tortilla to get too crispy, so it needs something to protect it. So we're also going to be dipping our tortillas in the salsa verde. So.
Sure.
All right, so now that our pan is lined with the salsa verde, we're gonna start taking our tortilla and we are going to coat it with the salsa verde as well. So we're gonna coat both sides. Normally I like to take a shallow pan and dip the tortilla, but we did not get that out tonight. Okay, so we have a plate over here with some salsa verde. We have our tortilla where one side is already verde'd up. You're just gonna dip the tortilla so that both sides are in the mixture. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna move it over here and you're gonna put some of the filling into your tortilla to make the enchilada. And since your tortilla already has sauce on it, it should be good to just roll. And I like to roll it and flip it so that the seam is down. And we'll just repeat this until we fill up the tray.
Okay.
All right, so we have our enchiladas rolled. Our particular dish made 8. If you have a bigger dish, you can see we have a ton of leftover chicken as well as tortillas and cheese. So really as big as your dish allows, or as many enchiladas as you want to make for that night.
Can you double stack them?
I would not double stack it unless you want enchilada lasagna, which you could do, and that would honestly save you time to roll. You fit way more tortillas in here. I've made enchilada lasagna before, but not with these like kinds of enchiladas. So sure, you could use it. Right now though, what we're gonna do is we're going to make the sauce creamier for the topping. And that involves using 3/4 of a cup of half and half. So that's poured out here, and we're just going to pour it into the remaining salsa verde mixture. You can see that I still had quite a bit left over. If you're using more enchiladas, then you probably would have a little bit less. It doesn't really matter. You just want a little bit, at least reserved for the topping at the end. And the topping is always supposed to be the creamiest, most decadent part of the salsa verde. And I'm just using about a cup of sour cream here. You can use far less. It's really whatever you want. I'm trying to get rid of this container, so I will make it extra creamy for this part. And also because we had a little bit more verde sauce left over, and so I put it into our remaining sauce, and you'll just give it a stir, and you'll see that this mixture becomes extremely creamy. The cream is extreme, as the kids say.
You could put it back on the blender too.
Yeah, you can put it back on the blender too. I had already pulled out the middle part of the blender, so.
I can still see some sour cream chunks in there.
Yeah, you can give it a good stir. It doesn't really hurt anything if your sour cream is a little chunky in there. The only thing that's gonna hurt is Jeff's sanity. So with that said, I will start to pour this over. You can see that a few of my tortillas did not have, weren't dipped on both sides, and that again was purely due to my own laziness of just not wanting to pour more verde onto the plate that I was using, but it's better to dip it on both sides. And you can see this sauce is very light in color because we added all that cream. And this will just be the most amazing enchilada dish that you'll have. So I will say we lowered the temperature of the oven when we pulled the vegetables out to 350. So it was on 450 when we roasted the vegetables. It's on 350 now. And that will just be what we bake the enchiladas on. And everything in the enchiladas is already cooked, right? Like your vegetables are roasted, your chicken is cooked. What we'll do now that we have the sauce on, we'll add some more cheese. And that will be the final piece of the puzzle, if you will. Jeff and I like a lot of cheese. Our stomachs don't like us for that, but we like us just fine. So we'll add this cheese on top. And as you can see, I still have some salsa verde left over. We still have some chicken left over, so we'll for sure have enough to make a few more enchiladas fresh out of the oven later this week, or we can freeze it, make it another time. Can we use all of it, babe?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I'm under strict instruction to use all of the cheese. I don't know, it seems a little excessive.
I don't think you can go too much on this.
Can't go too much cheese, huh?
No.
All right. Where's the enchiladas? Can't even see them anymore. So this dish is now completely ready to go into the oven. It's smothered in cheese and sauce, and you can see the bottom of the pan as well is covered in sauce. So we're gonna pop this in the oven at 350, and then we'll check on them here in a little bit. All right, so we just pulled the enchiladas out of the oven. As you can see, the cheese is all melty. We left them in here for about 25 minutes at 350 degrees. You can see it's perfect temperature for the edges to start to brown, but nothing else. So with that said, I'm ready to dig in. How about you, babe? All right. So we're just gonna take a look here. Ooh, they're falling apart. They look so good. Extra cheesy, as our family tradition states we must be. So have a couple of enchiladas, and I think I cut them off, but that's the fun with these enchiladas, is you don't even know and you don't even care. All right.
All right.
Bon appetit.